At a time of national trial, when the good people of the great state of Texas are suffering under a horrific natural disaster, even some of the worst people in the country are lifting their eyes toward heaven. I'm speaking, of course, of American mainstream media journalists. Even in the deepest cesspits of satanic sin, like CNN or the New York Times, a former newspaper, the most desiccated, twisted souls destined for a flaming hell of unbearable suffering, like CNN or the New York Times, a former newspaper, are looking to God and asking him the one question that is first and foremost on every mainstream media journalist's mind. Dear Lord, how can we find a way to blame this hurricane on Donald Trump? Even a heart of stone must pity these miserable sinners in their distress. Maybe not. But it is kind of pathetic to watch their struggles. Journalists have tried claiming that Trump shouldn't have gone to the scene of the hurricane because it diverted needed resources. But people still remember how they blamed George W. Bush for not going to the scene of a hurricane, so this only makes the journalists look like dishonest, biased, corrupt Democrat hacks who wouldn't know the truth if it rose up like an alligator out of the floodwaters and bit them on the backside. Not that I'm hoping that'll happen, but it would be kind of comical, you must admit. They've tried blaming Trump for not believing in their hysterical hype about the naturally changing climate. But meteorologists confirm that this hurricane had nothing to do with the changing climate. And so the journalists only managed to make themselves look like brain-dead, ill-informed, left-wing propagandists who wouldn't know a fact if it sidled up beside them like a gigantic elephant and crapped on their heads. Not that I would wish that on them. Okay, wait, I probably would wish that on them. Anyway, they've been blaming Trump for tweeting. But it turned out Trump was capable of tweeting with one hand while arranging for the federal government to coordinate disaster relief with the other. So the journalists only ended up looking like petty, spiteful, hate-filled lowlifes who wouldn't admit Trump was doing a good job if you stuck a pair of pliers down their throats and dragged the words out one by one, which I would never do, probably. Amazingly, the journalists have even attacked Melania Trump for wearing high heels as she got on the transport to go give comfort to the victims of the disaster. An attack so sexist, rude, and stupid that it only served to make the journalists seem like sexist, rude, and stupid, petty, spiteful, hate-filled, brain-dead, ill-informed, dishonest, biased, corrupt, Democrat hack, low-life, left-wing propagandists who look so appalling next to the decent, everyday Americans they despise that I could almost feel for them if I weren't busy feeling for those decent, everyday Americans who make journalists look like Kafifi. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
I hope I wasn't being unkind to those lovely journalists. It's Mailbag Day. Hooray, yes, and we will be on. You can send in questions live. We have questions that have already been sent in. But if you are a subscriber, you must be a subscriber to get the mailbag questions. Also, the mailbag takes place after we break away from Facebook and YouTube, so you can't watch it on video unless you're a subscriber. It's a lousy $10 a month to have all your problems solved. I mean, come on. Who wouldn't pay a lousy $10 a month to have all your problems solved? And if you subscribe for the entire year, it's $100, and you get the Leftist Tears tumbler. The Leftist Tears tumbler. It doesn't say Steven Crowder's name on it. What else can I say? What more appealing thing is there than that?
It sells itself.
Exactly. It sells itself, and it's filled with it comes filled with leftist tears, and then when they run out, Donald Trump gives a speech and it just automatically fills right back up again. So we got a picture from a listener, Zach Miley, who sent us a picture of me waiting online. And you can see that some people don't speak New York. They don't speak New York, but that's what he sees when he sees me waiting online. But the fact is, I don't wait online. I don't wait in line. I unline by using stamps.com, because the post office is really basically the last place on earth where you have to wait online, but you don't have to do it. You can just stuff the post office right into your computer and it will come out again, putting stamps. Using your printer, you can put stamps right on your letters. Stamps.com brings all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right to your fingertips. Buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer. It's easy, it's reliable, flexible, convenient. They'll send you a digital scale, automatically calculates the exact postage. Stamps.com will even help you decide the best class of mail based on your needs. Right now, you too can enjoy the Stamps.com service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale without long-term commitments. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Klavan. Hey, Austin, how do you spell that?
C.
Oh, no. No, it's Klavan. I'm talking to myself here. Stamps.com and enter Klavan. You'll get a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale without long-term commitments. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again. So before I rip into our corrupt, biased left-wing media, which I am about to do, let me just say a couple of actual kind words about them, because we all attack them, but there are some of them I actually want to say nice words about. There's a video going around of a victim of the hurricane who has just gotten her kids off the roof, and gotten them out. And a CNN reporter comes up to her and she goes off on her. Nobody could blame her, obviously, for going off and for just being hyped up. And this has been kind of going viral because everybody likes to see CNN picked on, as, in fact, CNN as an institution well deserves. So here is this moment when this poor woman actually has had enough of being interviewed.
But y'all sitting here, y'all trying to interview people during their worst times. Like, that's not the smartest thing to do. Like, people are really breaking down, and y'all sitting here with cameras and microphones trying to ask us what the is wrong with us.
So I'm so
and
sorry.
And you really trying to understand it with the microphone still in my face.
So I have to say that obviously we all love to see reporters get yelled at. But the woman, I actually felt for the woman from CNN. That's her job. That is her job. I've had to do this job. It is so unpleasant. I have had to call mourning parents on the day their kids died. It is just a terrible, terrible thing. And the thing is, you're putting together a story. The only way that a news agency can put together a story is one person at a time. A story like this that is massive and big, and you have to do this. And so, obviously, the woman, no one can blame the victim for going off on the woman, but this is what they have to do. And the media was insanely unfair and incompetent in covering Katrina. I mean, they reported all kinds of atrocities that didn't happen. They treated George W. Bush like it was his fault. The levees broke, which was insane. It was the fault of a Democrat government. One of the most corrupt governments in the world was New Orleans up until that moment. And yet, even so, by putting pressure on the government, the response to Hurricane Harvey has been much better because they have corrected the mistakes they made for Hurricane Katrina. So before I rip these reporters as they deserve, let's take a look. When a big story like this happens, local reporters get their big chance. And so they're out there for the first time, you're on some little station in the middle of nowhere, or a little station even in Houston, which is not that little, but still, you're not on a national scale. And suddenly you're covering a national story. Here are a couple of reporters. I'm going to name them. KHOU 11 reporter Brandy Smith. This is a CBS affiliate. She was in the middle of doing a story. Don't run it. She was in the middle of doing a story when she saw a truck sinking in the water and a truck driver stuck inside it. And remember, this is a woman who is getting the big chance of her career, and she wants to stay on camera and do a good job. Ed Lavandera from CNN saw an elderly couple and helped them into a boat. KTRK, which is an ABC affiliate, reporter Fodi Kalergis rescued some disabled people off a roof. And even though it's not as important, but it still touched me, was meteorologist Paul Goodlow from the Weather Channel, who saw an American flag in the wreckage. Here's a montage of these reporters.
The incident response team that was over here on the Hardy Toll Road is not here. Here we go. We have a boat coming. We have a boat coming. I'm gonna flag these guys down and see. Hold on just a second. Are you guys headed down to the truck right here? No. There's a truck driver stuck here in about 10 feet of water. Thank you.
When we were about to leave this neighborhood, there was a woman who had kind of flagged us down that her and her two elderly parents were still stuck inside the home. So I'm going to put the mic down. We're going to help them try to get back into the boats.
Look, they're flashing the light. I think they probably want us to maybe get one of those people that's up there. We can take you guys if you need. An elderly sick person? Yeah, bring. 2 handicapped. 2 sick and disabled and 2 in wheelchairs right now.
I don't know how strong the winds have to be to cut a palm tree in half, but that's what happened at the top of this tree. But next to it, we've got Old Glory. I can't let Old Glory just sit here like that. The school, yeah, it's battered. So is the flag, but we've got to fold this up. Make sure this isn't a casualty to Hurricane Harvey.
That's great stuff. That was great stuff. You know, these are local reporters, obviously getting a big break and putting aside their story for a minute to help people out, and I think they deserve tribute. Most of the time, in our, I have real serious problems, as anyone who listens to this or watches this show knows, with our media. I think that they are the source of so much of the political problems in our country by dividing us, by selling this narrative that there is a Democrat. They're just all Democrats, and they talk to Democrats, and they think they're not being biased. They actually are under the delusion that they're not being biased because each one of them reinforces the other's opinion, and they push this narrative that there is their Democrat policies and then there's hatred. Democrat policies and hatred. That's it. And this is where the justification of these Antifa guys going out and beating people up. They think, oh, you know, you disagree with us, you're hateful. There's certain things that can't be stood without answering them with violence, like anyone who disagrees with us. And that is the narrative the media pushes. But most of the time, it is not street reporters. Street reporters are, most of them, animals. They want the facts. They want to get the incident. They want to be on the scene. They want to see what goes down. They want to find the information and get it back. It's when it hits the editorial staff and the guys at the desks that the pollution of this bias starts to occur. So yesterday, we just saw this in spades. I mean, it was unbelievable. Donald Trump went down to Corpus Christi. He didn't want to go to Houston because that's where all the stuff is happening. He didn't want to divert resources that, you know, it takes a lot of resources, obviously, to take care of the president, so he didn't do that. Went down to Corpus Christi. And he talked, let's just take a look first. He went out and he talked to a crowd at a place where they were gathering the people who were homeless.
This has been a total cooperative effort. Again, we will see you soon. I will tell you, this is historic. It's epic what happened. But you know what? It happened in Texas, and Texas can handle anything. Thank you all, folks. Thank you.
So we remember, of course, that George W. Bush, he was at his ranch when Hurricane Katrina hit. He did not immediately go down. He flew over it because he didn't want to divert resources. He didn't want to divert resources for him. And they just remember, you know, George W. Bush doesn't like black people, and the black people, the racist coverage was unbelievable. The black people were eating each other in the stadiums, things like that. It was just totally untrue, completely untrue. But that coverage was all blamed on George W. Bush. So Donald Trump goes down and he makes an appearance. And so what they said was they made fun of him because he said, what a great crowd. And they thought, well, it's a refugee area, so of course it's a great crowd. But he was referring to the fact that people drove up to see him. They were cheering him. There were about 1,000 people that the press didn't even turn their cameras on, and they were cheering and waving him, and he reacted to that as anybody would. And so he was cheering people up. And then he went and he talked to Greg Abbott is the governor's name, right? And he went to the emergency center and gave thanks to all the people around. And in typical Trumpian terms, he talked about the fact that they're going to do a good job and take care of everybody.
I can tell you that my folks just telling me how great your representatives have been in working together. It's a real team, and we want to do it better than ever before. We want to be looked at in 5 years and 10 years from now as this is the way to do it. This was of epic proportion. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. And I just want to say that working with the governor and his entire team has been an honor for us. So, Governor, again, thank you very much. And we won't say congratulations. We don't want to do that. We don't want to congratulate. We'll congratulate each other when it's all finished. But you have been terrific, really terrific. And you've been my friend too for a long time.
He gets that just right. We're not going to congratulate each other because it's still underway. We know there are mistakes that can be made. This is obviously what has happened to Houston. It's now happening in Louisiana too, as Hurricane Harvey moves along the Gulf. You know, this is going to go on for years. This is what is happening now is going to go on for years. People are going to be homeless. Rebuilding is going to be just terribly, terribly difficult. Finding housing for people and all this stuff. The government is going to be involved in this for years. This is what the government is for. This is when we can all agree that government has to do what it has to do. And the word is that so far Trump is doing a great job. And you know, this is the funny thing about Donald Trump. This is what he does. This is what he likes. You know, he wants to fix stuff. He does. This is the best thing about him is he wants to fix stuff. You ask him about, when they asked him about racism, he said it's going to get better because people are going to have jobs. And their pay is going to be good because I'm going to fix that. You know, he doesn't have a spiritual sense of the world that he has to go out and sort of lead people in their spirits. What he does is he fixes stuff. And this is a big, big, big fix-it job. And he is in his element. Tevi Troy at the Wall Street Journal writes, so far, his administration is largely getting praise for effective handling of the crisis. Washington's disaster authorities appear to be in sync with the state on roles and responsibilities, which is very big. I'm sure you've all seen crime shows on television where the state and the local cops and the feds are at odds. That really does happen. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and its leader, Brock Long, deployed resources as Harvey approached, and the government response as a whole appears well coordinated. I give FEMA a grade of A+, all the way from the president down, Texas Governor Greg Abbott told Fox News Sunday. And yes, Mr. Abbott is a fellow Republican, but he is also interested in protecting Texas and would not have said A+ if the state weren't getting what it needed. That assessment is backed up by Rear Admiral W. Craig von der Wagen, a former career emergency manager who is plugged into the Harvey effort. Early read, he told Tevi Troy in an email, is that executive branch is performing well under this president. Okay? That's all you need to know. That's all anybody has to say. You don't like Donald Trump? Too bad. He's doing a good job. The people are in trouble. The president is there. This is a montage of the talking point between MSNBC and CNN, the talking point all day yesterday as they covered this. And it is, I mean, it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
Empathy's never been a strong suit in the first place.
He didn't hug a mom or hold a baby or shake someone's hand or ask a senior how they were doing. It was really remarkable. He acted like this was a big field trip, and it was the biggest and the best response, and we're going to congratulate each other later. It was typical Donald Trump without an ounce of empathy.
But has he ever been exposed to a situation?
And Jim, those words there show that the president is still very much learning on the job in terms of empathy, learning on the job in terms of how to react and relate to the individuals here who are,
the human element seemed to be absent outside of the self-congratulatory gestures of the conference. I mean, of the press conference. It seems to me it's just concerned about optics, and I want to be. I wish they would be concerned about people.
They were saying that it's going to be key to see the way he has real feelings and real empathy. How does he respond in this first big situation like this? What will you be looking for?
There's the empathy factor. There's the response. There is making people feel like he's engaged and he's going to be a leader throughout.
That's what President Trump is trying to convey today in his visit, and appropriately so. He is going to have to show some real feeling, some real empathy to the people in Texas that have been hit in this devastating manner.
In that way, it remains to be seen what the empathy factor is going to be here.
So basically what they're saying is he doesn't pretend to care the way we pretend. You know, we really pretend well. We pretend to care. All he's doing is helping people, encouraging them, making sure the money gets there, making sure all the services get there. That's not pretending to care the way we pretend. We put on these sad, serious faces. We're really good at this. He's not so good. I mean, it is absolutely disgraceful. And just before we break, I have to just point out that one guy on CNN with the glasses, that's Jeff Salaney, who used to be the White House correspondent of the New York Times and used the opportunity to first question the new President Barack Obama to ask this classic question.
Thank you, Mr. President. During these first 100 days, what has surprised you the most about this office, enchanted you the most about serving in this office, humbled you the most, and troubled you the most?
Now, let me write this down.
What a worm. I'm sorry. The guy's a worm. It's like it's all just hatred being generated by them. We have to break from Facebook and YouTube, and the mailbag is coming up. This means that you are going to be stuck, mired in your problems, unless you come on over to thedailywire.com to listen. And while you're there, you could subscribe and watch the show and be in the mailbag yourself. You can even send in questions live while I'm talking, and we will try to answer those as well. And if you subscribe for the year, it's only a lousy $100. Leftist tears, no Steven Crowder.